Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of Hit Reviews with your host, Arlyeon. On today's episode, I'll be talking about Pigeon Dev's retro-flavored platformer, Awesome Pea. Find out if playing this game will leave you feeling appeased, or if you'll only know peas when it's finally over. That was bad, I know, but anyways, on to the story! You are a greedy pea, who is awesome! So yeah, there's no real story here other than some super brief end credits, but frankly, that's fine. Because we're here for the gameplay in this particular title and to see how it handles the whole platformer formula. First off, Awesome Pea is a stage-based platformer, but one that leans a bit closer to the frustration-based gaming that you may be familiar with in titles like Meat Boy, as colliding with any sort of obstacle leads to an immediate critical existence failure. You die. This, in tandem with a lack of checkpoints in each hazard-ridden level, compromises one of the main aspects of challenge in the game, as there's no bosses or the yoke to confront. That said, whilst levels themselves come in a few flavors aesthetically, the majority of them do play out fairly similarly, save for the tower levels, which have you scaling up a tower while avoiding hazards, and the caverns, which provide to be the most challenging bits of platforming out of the entire game, since they're more or less riddled with endless projectiles raining upwards to make the descent into its rocky guts a galling bit of bastardliness. And that's without mentioning the ones that have crisscrossing bullets in some of them. But this gets further compounded, given that whilst the stages can be finished by simply getting to the end, there are two additional aspects which you can challenge yourself with. First off, each one of the levels have a timer. So, those competitive speedrunners in the audience can try and figure out what's the lowest margin you can make your way through each stage. But for those achievement hunters in the audience, you'll instead be distracted by the loot scattered throughout each stage, which a player is tasked with collecting all in one go in exchange for an achievement. And honestly, this is by and large where most of the game's challenge was for me, as the paths leading to the various items of treasure tend to require a fair bit of navigation and tempting fate than the more straightforward run through to the end would require. It's also likely why the player has a quick reset button at their disposal, given that it's not always possible to backtrack in a level in case you miss a piece of treasure. Looking at you, cave levels. But anyways, convenient quick reset button. Anywho, in the audio department, I actually really like the music in Awesome Pea. It's fairly catchy, and there's a decent amount of variety between the different stages, at least thematically. And for all its retro inspiration, Awesome Pea isn't a bad-looking game. There's some decent variety in the biomes, and the overall game is easy enough to navigate visually, though the manner in which a lot of the biomes felt interchangeable to each other is a mild nitpick I can make. Oh, and there's also some retrographic air-quote features that can make Awesome Pea look far more old-school, but I turned them off since I don't want to be reminded of the terrible TV I had when I was growing up. That brings me to my final thoughts, and honestly, it isn't bad as a title. I wouldn't go into it expecting an epic journey, but if you're in need of a moderately challenging platformer to romp through for an afternoon or evening, this may fit the bill. Admittedly, if you don't feel the need to go collection happy for the gems and the achievos, the game is apt to be a much shorter experience for you, given that doing everything that I could do, it took me around an hour and a half to complete. But I enjoyed it thoroughly for what was there. Personally, I enjoyed it enough to warrant the game as a hit, but I do feel the need to stipulate that if you folks aren't big into running around hoarding everything and getting all the achievements, this particular title is less likely to resonate with you since there will be a lot less to do. And that said, that's a wrap, so I'd like to thank you folks for both tuning in and sticking till the end. Whether you agree or disagree with my thoughts, I'd love to hear from you folks in the comments, and for those interested in more indie reviews or interviews with the developers, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. You'll get notified when we have a new release. There's also our Ko-fi, which if you'd like to support both the editors and myself, you can feel free to go and support us through that. There's a link up in the banner. And lastly, you can join our Discord, link in the description and in the banner, so you can become a part of our community. It's pretty cozy in there. Anywho, I'll catch you in the next episode of Crit Hit. Take care till then, folks.